What's up, everybody? On today's show, as we close the book on SEC Week 4, we bring you the latest on what the coaches had to say on Monday, heading into Week 5, some injury updates on quarterbacks Connor Weigman and A.J. Swann, and we've got SEC Players of the Week, some game time announcements for next week, and much, much more. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off your first purchase. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We got plenty we got to get into, so let's waste no time. Let's dive right into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right.
We're at Ole Miss as Lane Kiffin and the Rebels licking their wounds after a dominant loss to Alabama this past week. Now they will take on LSU, who is coming off of a narrow home win over Arkansas. Lane Kiffin saying on Monday, LSU is extremely talented, phenomenal-looking team, great O-line, great receivers, great quarterback, ran great defensive players all over. And we'll see what LSU is able to do against them. But Lane Kiffin saying he likes the spot his team is in, reminds him a little bit of where they were 2 years ago. He said, our challenge is to get better this week. I told him, hey, we happen to be in the situation 2 years ago. We went 3-0, went into Alabama. It actually played a lot worse. Ended up coming back from that game, finished the season 10-2. We got a lot of football in front of us and a huge one this week. Now, one thing the Rebels need to do better is run the football. They had just 56 rushing yards on Saturday, and Lane Kiffin said, we have to get better there. We got to coach better, involve different schemes, different things. Sometimes the run game is interesting. You'll have these games, and all of a sudden you pop, and you have a bunch of explosive runs the next week. So he is encouraged, at least, that they can get that fixed on the ground game. Now, Lane Kiffin talking about the challenge with LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels. He said he completes a lot of passes, hard to bring down. I don't know that we're in a better position or not. We need a really good game plan and need to play really well this week. Now, Lane Kiffin went on to talk about some of the injuries to keep an eye on from this past week at Ole Miss. They had wide receiver Trey Harris, wide receiver Zachary Franklin, and tight end Caden Priestcorn. They were all listed as doubtful heading into the Alabama game. Kiffin said he didn't think Harris was going to play in Tuscaloosa because he had underwent knee surgery sometime after their game against Tulane. Following that game, Harris had been spotted wearing a sleeve around his left knee, but Harris actually did end up suiting up and playing in the Alabama game just on a reduced snap count. Now, Kiffin said he's hopeful he will be able to see a lot more snaps against LSU. As far as Zachary Franklin and Caden Priestcorn, both at Alabama, played in their first game as Rebels. Priestcorn was used in a limited role, and the same thing with Franklin. So we'll see what all those guys are able to do if they're healthier this week and able to play bigger roles for the Rebels. All right, over at Alabama, Nick Saban talking with the media on Monday and talked about the challenge of going to Starkville this week to face Mississippi State. And interesting quote from Nick Saban. He said, this is actually a bigger challenge for us than the last two games, in my opinion. He said, because this team is very physical, very aggressive on defense. Well, the Bulldogs have allowed a combined 78 points in their first two conference games. They were blown out 41-14 at home to LSU, and then this past week lost 37-30 on the road at South Carolina. It is a road game for Bama at night, so that does pose a challenge. But Mississippi State, we'll see how desperate of a team they are. If they lose this one, obviously they'll fall to 0-3 to start the year, and that will be that would be disastrous. So, yeah, look, they're a desperate team. Sometimes desperate teams with their back against the wall come out and give a great effort. Mississippi State does still have Will Rogers, who had a little bit of a throwback game last week. Threw for 487 yards in the loss in Columbia. Tulu Griffin obviously was outstanding, 256 yards this past week. And Justin Robinson also had 91 yards. So all threats to make some big plays on Alabama's secondary, although the defense has played better as of late. And Mississippi State, defensively, they do have some dudes. Linebackers Jet Johnson and Nathaniel Watson, the lineman Nathan Pickering, a lot of different dudes on that front. Jaden Crumdy, Nick Saban said they create a lot of negative plays defensively, brought a lot of starters back. They know their system. They know their scheme. Zach Arnett, his system, he is a very good defensive coach. So we'll see what Mississippi State does against Bama. Now, Jalen Milroe, guy who's been facing a lot of fire through the first couple weeks of the season, was benched for the USF game and came back and beat Ole Miss last week. And during Alabama's 24-10 win against Ole Miss, Milroe had a 33-yard dime for a touchdown to Jalen Hale. Took a tough blow in the process. Offensive lineman Tyler Booker was on the next round on Monday and said that Jalen Milroe's toughness is a big part of why his teammates respect him. He said he plays with so much heart. I have yet to see Jalen Milroe slide. He said, as an old lineman, that gets us fired up. Like, hey, don't take so many hits, but at the same time, we love it. He's fighting for us, and so we got to go fight for him. Milroe completed 17 of his 21 passes for 225 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. One of the weapons that is coming off for Alabama, freshman wide receiver Jalen Hale, led all Alabama receivers this past week with a pair of catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. Both Saban and Milroe commented on Hale's surprise game this past week. Saban noted Hale played a great game, but said he wants him to play with confidence as he continues to learn every aspect of the offense. And Jalen Milroe saying he noticed Hale's great offseason and that he's going to continue to be a great component of their offense moving forward. Of course, that'll be, like we said, night game this Saturday night, a late one, 8 Central, 9 Eastern on ESPN, Alabama at Mississippi State. Alabama leads the all-time series 85-18-3 and currently riding a 15-game win streak against Mississippi State. The Bulldogs shocked the world. We will see. Obviously, Will Rogers has the arm talent, but the way Alabama's defense looked last week, they are up to the challenge. All right, in other news, over at Georgia, wide receiver Ladd McConkey, been a big part of Georgia's run on back-to-back championships, but it's been a big question mark. He missed his 4th straight game to start the season this past week, and Kirby said on Monday he's got to be able to practice. That's a big part of it. He's going to be able to come back to practice this week. We're going to be able to do some things with him. How he does in those things will determine whether or not he's able to play. Kirby went on to say he had kind of a 2-week advised shutdown. He's done that. We're expecting him to get out there today, do some things, but non-contact early in the week and try to move to that. Georgia does have an interesting challenge as they're going to Auburn this weekend. Bulldogs going to have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks as Auburn using Peyton Thorne as their starter, but Robbie Ashford getting a little playing time here and there, and 2 very different quarterbacks, bring different skill sets. Kirby Smart said, look, they're both really good athletes. I don't think people give Peyton Thorne enough credit for his athleticism and quickness. So when you talk about Robbie Ashford, you talk about a different kind of athlete. The guy is fast as anybody who ever played against, size and a strong arm, and they do a good job of using them both. Hugh has always done a good job offensively. Now, one area Kirby Smart said that has their focus is the red zone. He said that running quarterback, especially with Ashford, it's an extra element in the red zone. Every defense has an extra hat because nobody has to back up and play deep anymore. So it really becomes tough to get the ball in the red area in our league, and Robbie gives you that dimension. Texas A&M, they had no trouble slowing down Auburn's offense this past week. So we'll see how Georgia responds. That'll be that 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern kickoff on Saturday on CBS. It'll be the first road test for Carson Beck. Kirby Smart, talking about Beck, said, look, that's something we're going to find out, how he responds. I don't think you know. I think he's been through some ups and downs. He's certainly been against good defenses like Auburn has. He goes against our guys. But so far this season, Beck has recorded 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, and an interception. Been good at home. Can he do it on the road? Kirby said it's different when it's live. He's been our system. You only get good at these situational football things by playing football for a long time. This will be his first chance to show what he can do on the road. And over at Auburn, Questions at the quarterback position. And look, Peyton Thorne has not been good so far. When asked if junior Peyton Thorne is still his starting quarterback going into the Georgia game, Hugh Freeze on Monday said, quote, "We are still wading through that, but that's probably where we will land this week." Thorne threw for just 44 yards this past week against the Aggies. And, man, it's just not been good. I don't know why he has struggled to throw the football. Granted, trying to get on the same page with the wide receivers, the offensive line. They have to do their part, but we'll see. I expect to see some more Robbie Ashford this week in the Georgia game. Holden Garriner did get in the game this past week, was 2 for 7 for 8 yards. Hugh Freeze said, "I feel like we've let our quarterbacks down because of all the other components that go into the passing game." He said, "We're still a work in progress with the roster that we have." Now, they're getting ready for the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And Hugh Freeze talking about the rivalry game. He said, "Look, I'm not big on hate. I'm big on the meaning so much that it means so much to so many people. I hope we compete because we love Auburn, and it means something to compete against Georgia. Love is a great motivator for me." So Hugh Freeze not down with the, "I hate these guys, let's go get them." Freeze added that Auburn, Georgia isn't nearly as contentious as some other rivalries he's been a part of, like maybe the Egg Bowl. He said, "I don't know, I'm new here, but I don't sense it as the same hatred that some other rivalries I've been involved in." Auburn, Georgia does date back to 1892. Georgia leads the all-time series 63, 56, and 8 with 6 victories in a row against Auburn. Auburn's last win against Georgia was back in 2017, and then the team squared off in the 2017 SEC championship game, Georgia winning that one 28-7. Georgia at Auburn this Saturday, going to be a fun one. Hugh Freeze assured fans he's not worried after the loss to A&M. He said, "Look, this is not my first rodeo taking over a program that's struggling. I'm not at all phased. People want success. They want you to win now. Want you to win every game. I get it, but we will get better. Recruiting will help with that. The wins will come. I firmly believe that." One more injury note for Auburn. They'll be without running back Damari Alston for some time. Hugh Freeze revealing he had a dislocated shoulder. No timetable for his return, but did indicate it will be a lengthy absence. So they're going to do some more tests, but he has a dislocated shoulder, so we'll miss some time there. And over at Arkansas, Sam Pittman, their team has dropped 2 in a row, and Sam Pittman's done with the negativity. He turned off his Twitter account. He said, "I don't believe you can hide behind a phone and an address or an address people as personally as people do. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I was a counselor last week for my punter, for some of my old linemen. For me, that's not what it is. For a bunch of people that's hiding to talk about you. Everyone knows I'm fat, but to make fun of that, who does that make feel better? People say, well, you make a lot of money. That ain't got nothing to do with bashing you personally. Attacking me, guys on the team, it's not right. I'll never feel like it's right." Sam Pittman did talk about preparing for Texas A&M this week, taking on Bobby Petrino for a second straight season. They faced him last year when he was at Missouri State. Now he's running the offense for Texas A&M. And Sam Pittman said him, as well as Jim Chaney being there as an analyst, sees a lot of similarities. He said, "I don't see a whole lot of difference this year than what they were last year. There's some differences, but they're still a very physical running team. They throw it well." Pittman noted that Connor Weigman proved he can sling it with 5 touchdowns in the season opener. He said Coach Petrino is one of the best offensive minds in the game. We respect him a lot. They're doing a really nice job. Now, again, we may not see Connor Weigman. This one sounded like he may be out and probably going to get Max Johnson, but we'll see on that one. One more note, Rocket Sanders, Sam Pittman said there's still no update there. He said we will evaluate him again later on, but Rocket Sanders continues to miss games for Arkansas, and he's an impact player. They need to get him back out there. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll get to some more tidbits going on around the conference. That's coming your way in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys this episode is presented to you by the Gametime app. Look, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way for you to buy tickets to all your sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, whatever it is. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find all your last-minute seats. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. And the Game Time guarantee means you will get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Go take the guesswork out and buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. I want to remind you guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, check out on Fridays. We got our college football kickoff live show. Here's 11 a.m. to 1 Eastern on every one of our Locked On College YouTube channels, including Locked On SEC. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Getting you set for all of the college games heading into the weekend. We talk mostly SEC here, obviously, but they do a thing. They go around and hit on all the big games around college football. So if you're more into big picture stuff, that's what they're doing on Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday. All right, let's dive back into it because we got some more stuff we got to get into in news going on around the conference. Continue to hit on a lot of the schools. And next up, we stop over at Texas A&M as Jimbo Fisher giving an update on quarterback Connor Weigman on Monday. Went down in the Aggies game against Auburn, left the game right before halftime. Fisher said Weigman has, quote, a little sprain with a little swelling. Listed him as day-to-day. Weigman has racked up almost 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns this season. Max Johnson, a very suitable replacement for the Aggies, came in the second half, looked very good, threw for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half. And Jimbo said he liked what he saw from Max Johnson. He said, we moved the ball consistently on the day. I thought Max did well once Connor came out. Johnson did lose the starting battle coming into the season, but Jimbo said he's made the most of his time as the backup. He said, Max believes in himself. That's one of the things I love about him. He practiced, competed, and he's ready to play. He never lost confidence. A&M, of course, heading to Dallas. Jerry's will take on Arkansas this weekend. And A&M preparing for the Hogs. Jimbo talking about the challenges that the Razorbacks bring. And he said one of the big issues is KJ Jefferson. He said offensively it starts with KJ Jefferson. Quote, the guy reminds me of Cam Newton so much. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. He's a giant. He's big, strong, fast, throwing the ball excellent, making great decisions, and he's hard to get on the ground. Fisher talked about the importance of playing a complete game. He said you got to be on offense, help your defense, and your defense has got to get off the field and make plays. Very challenging in what Arkansas is doing. Now, this game was always competitive. Jimbo said it's like playing your brother in a weird way. You're going to compete and play hard. It matters. Doesn't matter if they're supposed to be ranked high or not. It always seems to come back to those things that make rivalry games so great. The more you play somebody, the more comfortable you are, so you know how to compete against them. Aggies, Razorbacks, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern on Saturday will be a fun one to watch. Over at LSU head coach Brian Kelly made an appearance on the Paul Feinbaum show on Monday talking about his team and said they've made a lot of improvements since that week 1 loss to Florida State. And one of those improvements has been the play of a lot of his underclassmen playing valuable snaps. He said that they have been able to get in there, guys like Wes Weeks and other freshmen that are underclassmen that have been able to get more playing time as the weeks have gone by. But, of course, the other big positive for LSU has been the play of their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. He has led the SEC in total passing yards. Only he and A.J. Swann have double-digit touchdown passes this season, and Swann's played an entire extra game. Brian Kelly saying, look, when you got a quarterback in this league that's playing at a high level or any league, you got a chance. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jaden Daniels can keep up this great play for LSU as they head to Oxford this weekend. Over at Tennessee, Josh Heupel and crew, they remember last year's ugly loss to South Carolina in Columbia. Was really just one of those big shocking games. And, of course, it was the game where Hendon Hooker tore his ACL and missed the remainder of the season. But for the Vols, they're treating this, quote-unquote, just like another game. Defensive lineman Bryson Eason talking with reporters on Monday saying it's just another game. Josh Heupel kind of saying the same thing. Said last year's game has nothing to do with week 5 of this year. Heupel is focused on keeping his players in the moment in a situation that is far from what Tennessee found itself in last season against the Gamecocks. Spencer Rattler, of course, playing much better right now, playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. South Carolina's only 2 losses did come against ranked teams, to Georgia and North Carolina, and they were leading Georgia at the halftime just 2 weeks ago. So tough test for Tennessee. Shane Beamer did say last Saturday that Heupel and the Vols must be licking their chops to go up against South Carolina's secondary. Of course, their offensive line woes have been documented as well. But we'll see what both these teams look like. Vols and Gamecocks, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern on the SEC Network Saturday night in Knoxville. Now, one of the big questions is on quarterback Joe Milton. For those who missed it, Milton went down in Saturday's game with what seemed like discomfort in his knee. Played the second half with a brace on, but Josh Heupel saying on Monday Milton has felt fine and he will be ready to go against South Carolina on Saturday. So there was some concern there. Sounds like Joe Milton going to be just fine. A couple more notes on Tennessee. Heupel saying that they plan to honor the 1998 national championship team during Saturday's game. This will mark the 25-year anniversary of the championship team. So that will be fun to see. And Tennessee expected to be back in black, bringing out their dark mode jerseys at first debut 2 years ago against the Gamecocks. So it should look nice under the lights over there at Neyland. Over Kentucky, Mark Stoops asked about an early kickoff this week against Florida. They'll slow down fans from their pregame festivities. Stoops saying on Monday, I have great confidence in the people of Kentucky who can get up very early and pound some beers. Why would you disrespect the great people of the Commonwealth? We'll see if the Kentucky fans can bring it. Asked about their win over Vanderbilt last week, Stoops said, we executed, played clean. They were upset. We got back to executing on defense. Stoops said he didn't have an update on injured left guard Kenneth Horsey's status for this week just yet. Also added long snapper Ronald Gaines will be out for the rest of the year with a non-contact pre-practice injury that he called flukish. Stoops also praised his DB Max Hairston, who was named Defensive Player of the Week with his 2 pick sixes. He says, if you keep on working and grinding and growing, he's a great example of what can happen. Over at Florida, of course, Billy Napier and the Gators will have their first SEC road test of the season, going to Lexington this weekend to face Kentucky. Despite Kentucky being unranked with a 4-0 record, Billy Napier saying they got to bring their A game to Lexington. Said this is a big week. Kentucky has a really good football team. We have a lot of respect for Coach Stoops. It's a tough place to play. Napier confirmed that offensive guard Micah Mazuka is back in the lineup after being suspended last weekend. And he praised his special teams unit. Kicker Trey Smack converted all 5 of his field goals last week, including a 54-yarder. He said, I think we took a step forward Saturday. We're getting better special teams play. We have to eliminate some of the communication errors, but overall, been very good. Florida leads the all-time series here with Kentucky 53-20, but the Wildcats have won the last 2 meetings. They finally have broken through here in recent years. Going to be a fun one, early one, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern on ESPN. Over in South Carolina, Shane Beamer has got himself a weapon. All the talk of Juice Wells coming into the season, and unfortunately Juice has been so banged up, but Xavier Legette has really separated himself as one of the best receivers in the conference this year. During his game against Mississippi State this past weekend, Legette hit the fastest speed recorded by any player across college football this weekend. 22.3 miles per hour he was clocked at. For what that's worth, our buddy Brandon Olson dug into the metrics and found Legette was the quickest football player in the country. Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins was clocked at 22.07. So Legette faster than that. Dangerous receiver for Spencer Rattler and company. Legette currently leads the SEC in receiving yards per game at 139 yards per game. That's over 8 more yards than Malik Neighbors at LSU against South Carolina. Tennessee going to be a big one this weekend. And lastly, over at Vanderbilt, they're preparing to take on number 23 Missouri in SEC play. Clark Lee gave an update on quarterback A.J. Swann, meeting with reporters on Monday. Said, to be determined. He's got an arm strain and is working through that. We have to play better at that position. Too early to tell what that might look like on Saturday. So will it be Ken Seals? Will they be able to get A.J. Swann back out there? We'll find that out later this week. But To be determined. Clark Lee putting that status on AJ Swann as of now. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll run through the SEC players of the week and give you some more game times that came out for next week in the conference. First, I want to remind you guys this episode is presented to you by our friends over at DoorDash. If you need fresh groceries for the week, but you don't have the time to go to the store, try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it, right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your favorite restaurants, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers. Thousands of grocery stores to choose from. You'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. If you want even more value, you can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery free on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app, and best in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off, up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store. Enter promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Get 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right, before we get out of here on a Tuesday on Locked On SEC, the conference revealed their players of the week coming out of SEC Week 4, so thought we'd read off some of those for you. First up, Offensive Player of the Week. We had two of them, co-Offensive Players of the Week. It was Spencer Rattler from South Carolina and Jaden Daniels from LSU. First up, Spencer Rattler, nearly perfect against Mississippi State last week. Completed 18 of his 20 passes, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns in their 37-30 win over Mississippi State. He led back-to-back touchdown scoring drives of 98 and 99 yards to open the game, the two longest drives in the Shane Beamer era at South Carolina. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels, he led LSU to points on their final 6 possessions of the game, 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals in their 34-31 win over Arkansas. His third game this year, accounting for at least 4 touchdowns. LSU's racked up 509 yards of offense this past week and punted only twice. Incredible what Jaden is doing this year. Over on Defensive Player of the Week honors, no doubt going to Kentucky's Maxwell Hairston. Broke a Kentucky record with not 1 but 2 pick sixes. Had 3 pass breakups, a career high. Other honors of the week. Special Teams Player of the Week went to Florida kicker Trey Smack, who was 5 for 5 on field goals. He was also recorded 7 touchbacks on 7 kickoff attempts. O-Lineman of the Week was Alabama's Tyler Booker, anchored that Crimson offensive line in their win over Ole Miss. Booker did not allow a sack as Jalen Milroe completed 17 of 21 passes. D-Lineman of the Week, South Carolina defensive tackle Alex Huntley. He was credited with 3 tackles, including a pair of sacks, and broke up 2 passes in the Gamecocks' 37-30 win over State. And Freshman of the Week goes to Texas A&M linebacker Torian York. On Saturday against Auburn, he led the way with 11 total tackles, 5 of those solo, added 2 tackles for a loss, and had half a sack for a loss of 2 yards. So Torian York there. And SEC out with their TV network assignments for next week. Here is how things shape up. The early games next week, this is for week 6. It'll be LSU at Missouri at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. Western Michigan at Mississippi State, that'll be 11 a.m. Central on SEC Network. Afternoon game, Alabama at A&M. It's the 2:30 Central game on CBS. Also in the afternoon, we'll have Vanderbilt at Florida. That'll be 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern on the SEC Network. And then in the evening, we've got Kentucky at Georgia, 6 Central, 7 Eastern on ESPN. And then Arkansas at Ole Miss, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern on the SEC Network. So a nice slate of games coming up next week. And, of course, we'll preview all those games once we get into next week. But first things first, we got SEC Week 5 we got to get into, and we got plenty more to talk about as the week goes along. We'll bring you guys all the latest news going on around the conference. Of course, some of our special guests as well. We'll also do a crossover episode talking with our LSU and Ole Miss folks to preview that game of the week this week in the SEC. So plenty of stuff to get into as the week goes along. Make sure you guys keep it locked right here on Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. And shout out to our everydayers. Keep coming back and check us out tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC. Have a great day, everybody.